In today's video, we are going to make a pop rock song and it's gonna sound like this. Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Knox recently released his album Going Going Gone in the month of April and it is packed with pop rock gems. Similarly, the band Camino is going to release their album tomorrow, which is on the 25th of July, and I am so excited for it. So I thought in today's video, let's make a pop rock song which sounds like Knox and the band Camino. I've been a fan of modern pop rock since a very long time. I love the heavy use of live instruments like guitars, drums and bass, and two artists who stuck out for me in this genre were Knox and the band Camino. I have the project open in front of me, but before I jump into it, I just want to tell you that I am a music producer and I love the genres of indie and pop and everything around them. So if you are an artist who is looking for a music producer to help you with your music, I would love to jump on board and help you out. You'll find a quick form in the description below that you can fill and I can get in touch with you. So with everything out of the way, without further ado, let's get straight into the project. So this is what the project looks like. This is my intro and I go into the verse, then the chorus for about 8 bars if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's for about 8 bars. Then there's this small break between the chorus and the second verse. Then we go into the second verse and again the chorus, a small bridge section which is for about 8 bars, and then finally the last chorus. Great, so the first thing I started with was this synth plugs. I accidentally deleted the track which had the MIDI and the virtual instrument, but I am pretty sure I got this sound from Omnisphere. The next sound I have here is this synth riser. Again, I do not have the MIDI for this, but I am pretty sure again that this is from Omnisphere, and it's just a plain pad sound which plays a chord, and then I've added a fade in. And then right after these 2 bars, we jump straight into the verse. So for the verse, let's dive into the guitars first. I am playing a muted pattern and I have double tracked it so that I can pan them left and right. For the sound, I am using Amplitude 5. This is my lovely little guitar simulation plugin that I always stick to. I am on the Now I Am Here intro preset. I found it from the preset library. I went into the crunch sound character and then I found it here. And for the second sound, I'm using the same tone on the amp and I am adding an EQ to both of them just to take down some of that low end so that it does not interfere with the bass. Now this is something which is very typical of pop rock and even indie rock music. You just need to make sure that your guitar tones are not heavily distorted unless and until it's the chorus and you need things to hit. But in the verses you can make do with crunchy guitar tones. So this is what I'm doing. Nice thick guitar sounds. For the second element, we are adding the drums here. We are not just adding the bass yet. We'll wait for about 8 bars to introduce it. But this is the drums. You simply need very snappy and in-your-face drum sounds. So the samples that I'm using are, this is my kick. A very electronic kind of a kick sound. This is my snare. My hi-hats. This is my open hat. Some toms. And that's it. Also, you might notice that I have these 2 snares muted. This was just me auditioning a bunch of snare sounds to see which might fit. But I ended up not using these 2 because you can hear the sound. It's not going well with the vibe that we're going for. This is the first one and the second one. So both of these do not really go with the vibe. This first one has too much of that tail that we actually do not want, and the second one, it lacks that body which I needed from the snare. So I ended up just muting them and adding this sound. This has that perfect amount of body and the tail that I needed. I'm simply adding an EQ on the processing chain, taking down some of that low end till about 77 Hz, taking down this low mid frequency at 161 Hz, and boosting the highs and taking down some of it at 6243 Hz. I'm also sending it to my reverb bus, which is Valhalla Vintage Verb, just to make it sit in that space, and the drums all together sound like this. Now here's a fun little trick that I use on my drums to make them sound lively, especially in genres like pop rock where you need the drums to be very snappy. If I were to use drum libraries like Studio Drummer or the Superior Drummer library, I would get the kick and the snare bleeding into my room mics and my overheads, which I don't want because I want that snappy drum sound, and I'm getting exactly that from the samples. But I still wanted that lively feel to it, so I just added a new track, loaded up my Studio Drummer library from Contact, and I simply played the hi-hat and the cymbals here. After 8 bars, I'm adding my bass, which is Modo bass. I'm on the 60s P bass preset, and I'm boosting the highs quite a lot. That's an insane curve, and I'm adding overdrive, about 10.25 dB of it, and this is what it sounds like. Now normally I would just play in the bass line on my bass guitar, but I do not have it currently. I'm getting it fixed from somewhere, so I just use this plugin for it, and with the drums this is what it sounds like. A simple bass line which is not too busy. And yeah, in the second half of the first verse I'm adding these guitar stabs which sound like this. So every time I come towards the end of a 4-bar guitar pattern, I'm playing this. Again, this is double tracked for left and right. I'm using Amplitude 5 for this on the Tiny Terror high gain 2 cab preset. And the second one is our previous preset which I use now. I am here intro. Now moving on, I have these 2 clean guitars coming in. The first one sounds like this. A very simple muted pattern again, just to add to the existing guitar picking pattern. I'm using Guitar Rig 6 for this on the basic Chicago preset. And this is panned to the right with some EQ taking down the lows, and this is the second layer. I'm again using Guitar Rig 6 for this on the right in the middle preset, and I'm compressing it with this 76 compressor. Quite a lot of compression, as you can see it's touching minus 10 dB of gain reduction, and the second compressor I'm using is the LA2A, and I'm following this up with this EQ taking down quite a lot of lows, which I think should come down a bit. That's it for the verse. Here's what it sounds like with everything together. Now we move on to the chorus, which starts with this crazy drum fill, which sounds like this. And we jump straight into the chorus where our drum groove has changed now. Tambourine coming in the second half. And a slight variation in the bass line from the verse. Now let's take a look at the guitar stabs. Let's look at them one by one. The first one is again the Tiny Terror high gain 2 cab preset, which uses the orange amp. The second one is on Now I'm Here, the same preset as before. The third one is using the boosted gain preset, and since this is a high gain preset, I'm using noise gate to get rid of the unwanted noise sounds. Always remember to use a noise gate if you're dealing with high gain amps, and an EQ, and the fourth one is again the same preset, the boosted gain preset, and I'm using the same noise gate and the Q3. All of them are hard pan to the left and right to create a nice blanket of guitar chords, and this is a very simple production, so you won't find a lot of synth layers. I'm mostly experimenting and making use of the guitars. Let's take a look at the chorus. So this is what the chorus in its entirety sounds like. And there's a slight reverb on each of these guitar tracks. Moving on, I have this small tiny little post-chorus section before we jump into the second verse. It's just for 1 bar and it sounds like this. So what we have here is the same synth plugs from our intro and the synthesizer with a small fade out, which I am using as a tape stop effect, the slowdown effect. It sounds like this. And now we are in the second verse. There are some additions, so let's take a look at them. We start with the drums. The bass comes in exactly the same as the first verse. Our synth plugs, the same guitar muted pattern. And just to give it some more chordal information, I am adding this piano. This is a very aggressive sounding piano. I am using Keyscape for it on the wing tag piano preset, and I am adding an EQ to take down the lows to make space for the bass. I am also adding these verse arps. So for this I'm using the synth Zebra 2 and I'm on the HS Pocket Love preset. To give it a little more of that panning effect, I'm using Brauer motion from Waves, so it alternates between the left and the right speaker, and I am also adding an EQ to take down the lows. So these verse harps only come in the third and the fourth bar of a 4-bar phrasing. Again our clean guitars come in, and I simply played in a pinch harmonic on my guitar and just kept it here on the downbeat, which I'm also using as the riser when I move into the second chorus. And this layer is also a new addition. It's a crazy preset from Guitar Rig 6. It's the Granular Joy preset, and that's about it. Let's listen to this part. We'll see the guitar stabs come in again here, and this is a new section which is actually a small pre-chorus. I didn't add a pre-chorus after the first verse, but I just felt like adding a pre-chorus after this second verse, and it sounds like this. It doesn't have a lot of changes, it just has a new chord progression. So in this section I'm starting off with an F minor, going into G sharp major, and then B flat. The same is being played by the bass. And a new guitar layer. It sounds twangy but still crunchy. It's the Guitar Rig 6 again on the right in the middle preset, but I'm taking down the lows and the mids here and boosting some of the treble. So our progression from the verse into the pre-chorus sounds like this. And we move on to our second chorus, which starts with this reverse guitar riser. I'm adding a plate reverb plugin on it, the Valhalla plate, on 3 seconds of decay and 100% mix. And as I mentioned before, I'm using the guitar feedback, and I just reversed it and added a fade in. You'll see I keep on adding and subtracting elements here and there. So in the first chorus we only had the chorus for about 8 bars, and in the first 4 bars we didn't have the tambourine, but in the last 4 bars we added it. In the second chorus, however, I'm adding the tambourine right from the first bar till the last bar. So almost everything remains the same, but I'm adding these guitar plucks in the second half of the chorus, which is the same tone from the muted pattern in the verses, and I'm just playing the same pattern with these chorus chords. And in the second half of this chorus I'm also adding this high guitar, which plays the same chords but on the lower 2 strings. It has a lot of treble and it's very twangy. I'm on the warmer DL preset, did not change anything at all. Added an EQ to take down the lows quite a lot, and a multiband compressor to tame down the 2K to 4K range, just cleaning it up slightly. And that is it for the second chorus. And we also have this ARP player coming in towards the end of this chorus, which sounds like this. A very straightforward ARP. I'm using Serum for this. It's just a very simple sound. Both the oscillators are playing the same thing, and I'm adding a filter to it, cutting it till about 750 Hz, and everything else is the same. I'm also adding a Valhalla vintage verb on this at 20.8% mix, and I'm using the stock Logic arpeggiator. So our second chorus sounds like this now. And we move on to the bridge, but before that I added this drum fill, and I'm bringing back the reverse guitar effects, and I'm adding this transition effects here. That's about it, and we move on into the bridge. It sounds like this. So we start off with a simple 4 on the floor kick, which goes on till 4 bars, and in the next 4 bars we introduce this tom pattern. And I'm using Studio Drummer from Native Instruments for this. One thing that I did change here is the attack on each of these tom channels. I bumped up the attack and took down some of that sustain from each of these because I wanted that aggressive tom hits. And I simply cut this transition effects here. Now this is a simple transition hack. I just bounce this guitar in place, and on this new channel I am just adding an EQ and automating the high cut. It's a very simple transition hack. You should definitely try it out. It actually makes you feel like that part is opening up. So very simple trick, but very useful one. And we jump into our final chorus, which is the same in terms of the drums, the bass and the guitars, but in the second half is where I'm changing the hi-hat pattern, and instead of hi-hats I'm playing a splash. Very straightforward, and this is the only part that's changing. Rest all is the same: the chorus harps, the bass, the drums, and the guitar stabs and plucks. So we have actually covered everything. It's a very simple production, and the song that inspired me to create this instrumental was not the 1975 by Knox. It's a great song. You should actually check it out if you haven't already. Like I said, Knox is someone who I have listened to for a long time, and it's always fun to recreate something in that genre. I'll just shut up in a moment and play the whole track for you right from the start. But just one last thing, I'm a music producer and I absolutely love the genres of indie and pop, and I actually help artists make amazing sounding indie music. I would absolutely love to be a part of your next project. Just send me a DM on Instagram, or you'll find a form in the description below that you should fill out, and I will get in touch with you. So with that, we come towards the end of this video. Thank you for sticking with me, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Peace.